We had to give the Marxist occupiers written assurance that these houses will not be allocated to Muslims. Marx and Marxists consider themselves as the winners. But we do not feel like losers. It's more a failure for Sri Lanka. Then another move from the government. The government expropriates our land and all the houses we are building on it. We consult the lawyer.
So that is quite clear now they are getting involved in the acquisition of that land. So once the government takes over, it will be under their control. So they have decided to acquire this for a tsunami project.
That's a clear legal situation. Yes. Government takes over.
Yeah.
And
what they do with it is their business.
Purpose.
Yes, for a public purpose.
The expropriation follows swiftly. It's the first time government officials have acted this efficiently.
I hand over this land, and here you have all land extent according to our deed. The Helmut and I am Elizabeth.
The officers demand the deeds and all registry documents. Many tsunami victims, like Rita and her husband Peter, have lived in wooden huts like this for more than 1.5 years. Now they are moving into a new home with all their possessions. The other Paranakadi families can now also move out of their temporary shelters into the new houses they had been promised. The Muslim families decide by a lot draw which family will get which house. Finally, the houses are soon to be completed. The families have asked that the houses be handed over anyway at the end of Ramadan 2006. And so the Give Hope building site in Ambepetia becomes the venue for a celebration. An imam urges the people not to wish ill to anyone. After all, Allah ensures that everything turns out well. Navasia calls out the individual names and Elizabeth hands over the ownership documents.
Ara number Muhammad Tajuddin, Muhammad Rizan, and Muhammad Hanifa, Muhammad Rizvi.
You happy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kitchen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah? You like?
Yes. Like too much.
The families celebrate the breaking of the fast in their new homes.
How are you?
The building site of the Sinhalese houses is a hive of activity. They even work through the night. The reason, the opening date for the Give Hope village was ordered by the government agent. I'm not surprised that the minister is to inaugurate the village. It is end of October 2006. The ceremony was organized by the local government agent, of course. TV reporters have even been arranged to report about the success of the politicians. But the minister will not be granting the Paranakadi family's ownership. They will only have a right of residence in the new houses. It is an injustice that we are powerless to prevent. So, in the end, the families from Paranakadi are worse off than the Muslim families, who, by Give Hope, have all been granted ownership of their homes. How often during our 2-year aid project have I seen Buddha's teaching about compassion trampled underfoot? I imagined something different from Buddhism in practice. In June 2014, almost 10 years after the tsunami, we visit Sri Lanka once again. The mighty Alutkama Buddha has been completed, and the power of ultra-nationalist monks had grown. The monks' party has formed a militant branch, the Bodubala Sena, the Buddhist power force. It carries out violent attacks, particularly on Muslims and Christians. In this month, they launch a big riot against Muslims and their property. As in 2006, Alutkama is once again the scene of violence. Militant Bodubala Sena monks called their supporters to violence. Nine shops, 40 houses and 3 mosques are damaged. 80 injured, 3 dead. In this square in 2005, I heard a speech by a monk who promoted not the Buddha's teachings, but right extremist slogans. Meanwhile, a hydra that threatens the nation grew out of this distortion of Buddhism. We travel to the island's east coast. A good friend, the writer Manukavir Singh, wants to show us a settlement that the government built there for Muslim tsunami victims. The village lies close to Ampara. It's hard to get information how to get there.
Hari, which way?
Huh?
Which way?
Which way? That way, that way. That way until the end of the road and then left where the carpet starts, right?
මහාලේ තියෙනවා. ඒ අල්ලට වැටෙනවා. මේක බම්බත්තට දකුණු පැත්තට හරවලා ගියාම දිග අපි ගම්මනක් එනවා. ඒ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා.
ඔව් ඒ පරිවර්තය ඉති පහු කරලා දිගටම ඇලබන්ට් එක දිගම යන්න.
Only a rice farmer knows. Yes, yes, the village with the 500 houses, he says, describing the route. But it's forbidden to visit the place, he emphasizes.
Das ist eine asphaltierte Straße, oder?
Ja. Aber jetzt bleiben wir da stehen.
Kann aussteigen, oder?
Ja.
Night falls as we reach the village. Using donor money, the Ministry of Housing and Development has built 500 houses here, complete with school, hospital and mosque. But the village remains uninhabited. It's a ghost town. We return the next morning. It is apparent that hundreds of thousands of euro of donations have been buried in the sand here. And those for whom the houses were built are not allowed to move in. Why? The answer, firstly, because they are Muslims. And secondly, because Omalpe Sobidatero, the monk that we had never seen face to face, came up again with the argument. The village lies too close to a Buddhist memorial and temple. Too close means 7.5 kilometers. Racist ideology has smothered compassion.
Manuka, vor 10 Jahren haben wir uns kennengelernt.
Yes, I remember how we met 10 years ago, and I remember you telling me about the problems you had with the Muslim villages and the Sinhala villages, and there was some agitation. And actually, Elizabeth, I didn't take it seriously. You know, this was something, it kind of went into one ear and exited from the other ear kind of thing. And because this was not a problem in this country at that time, and I kind of thought it was, a single incident in this region. So, it was not a thing that I even thought about. But considering your experiences today and seeing what has happened in this country over the last number of years, I now realize that you have witnessed the beginning of this current problem, and it is a problem. Buddhism has become a big circus, and the politicians are trying to become gods and kings. I mean, everywhere you go, we just see humongous billboards of politicians acting like gods, with auras on the head, Buddha statues in every corner. I mean, there's this humongous Buddha statue, in Aludgama, which is ridiculous. I mean, you go down there and there's a strange concoction, and the monks tell me that is a temple. I mean, that thing is not a temple. It's some strange, I don't even know what it is, This is not the Buddhism I have understood. This is not the Buddhism I have lived. This is not the Buddhism I have been taught. This is absolutely militant Sinhala Buddhism. What I see in this kind of Buddhism is nothing but fascism. This is exactly what they're doing.
Together with Navasia, we visit the villages that we built without announcing our arrival ahead of time. First, we visit the Paranakari families. It's a big surprise.
Hello? Beach, near the beach, only this house is clean. No. What a beautiful place. Very wonderful. Nice.
Then we visit the Give Hope village for the Maradana families. Here too, surprised and happy faces greet us.
Little party for all our beneficiaries on Friday. By Berlin there. Yeah, in Maradana, old place. Yeah.
We greet one another as though no time has passed.
But this is Khalil's house.
In Maradana, we meet with our beneficiaries just as we did in December 2005, when it seemed that the houses would never get built. With the help of photos, we share memories and find out much of what has happened since. This is very important. Okay, very good. Ramiz and Johara have not forgotten the time we approached them outside the Kachimalai Mosque. Neither Elizabeth nor I suspected that this warm reunion would be the crowning end to our work. There's no disunity, just human connection and concern, and memories of the sometimes difficult time shared after the tsunami. Your house?
Oh, all finished. My house all finished now.
All finished.
Finished.
And this family?
Family.
You are Sinhala?
Sinhala, yeah, Muslim.
Muslim?
Yeah.
Oh, good friend?
Good friend.
No problem?
No problem.
Give Hope was a rich experience. Help me if you can. Compassion is a great force that makes help possible. Where compassion is killed, help will be impossible. Compassion unites people, regardless of culture and religion.
Bye. 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 Bye.